Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to refer back the witness to the report. And I note that specifically on number 9, that the following persons were in attendance: Mr. Philip Irode, Mr. Joan Mukeire, the Office of the Governor, there was a council, and then there was an ICT advisor from the Mr. Weldon Langat, including the County Assembly, Alfred Korir Kimutai, Mr. Hilary Kiplangat, and then you had the Senate Secretariat, Mr. Zakayo Mogere, Innocent Baya, and Miss Marianne Karanja. The question that I want to ask you is very simple. This report, although you are the witness standing there to be able to submit and to present the report, were you the only person who came up with this report, or this report was a joint exercise by all those people who, by the resolution of this House, ended up carrying out this exercise? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama, just look at the report. The owners of the report are 2, and they signed it in the presence of others. If you look at page 5 of 2022. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to inquire from the witness on why there is an IP address appearing to have voted thrice, contrary to the IP address that they had indicated was supposed to be the one to vote. And I take note of that because it has voted yes thrice. Thank you. And I'm talking about the IP address 154.159.237.85. Thank you.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is on the last terms of reference for Philip. You were told, is there any evidence of multiple voting or compromise? I don't know, did you make use of these particular terms of reference to check if the system can be penetrated by hackers from outside? I don't know if you did, you attempted to penetrate the system so that for our comfort, we know the system is secure.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Witness, as an IT expert, whichever way this matter goes, would you recommend the Kericho County Assembly to continue using this system or any other assembly for that matter? Thank you.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, you said that you received a letter from Senate in order for your authority to be able to undertake this process. This letter was addressed to who specifically? Because just need to understand the 2 hours that the council talked about, then who was really addressed, the letter was addressed to who? Then secondly, this report that you've tabled, did it need any consensus for it to be valid? Number 3, do you think that this system for Kericho County is a valid system that can continue to be used? It's a system from your own expertise that you would recommend that they continue using? Lastly, is that the MCAs that were...
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Ningetaka mkurugenzi atuelezee kulingana na MCA, kuna pahali wanasema walitumia dakika 5 wakaongezea dakika 2, ikakuja na singine ikakuja dakika 11. Sisi hapa Senate, wakati speaker anataka tofauti, anatuambia toa kandi na uingishe na uweke namba uweze kufuti, na kama imemaliza dakika kidogo, kama haujaweza kuweka la ama ndio, unakuta inaenda inapotea. Hii gadget ya Kericho, kwani iko namna gani? Kwani iko tofauti na gadget zile zingine kama haija kuwa tembandi nayo?
Senator Kibwana Hamida.
I don't have glasses. I can't see. Let me wear my glasses. Let me get my glasses.
Are you reading somewhere?
No, I wanted to.
Don't speak. We need your mouth,
I was
not your eyes.
I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at the numbers in the report. Let me wear my glasses. Glasses zangu zimeenda.
Okay, I'm told everyone on my dashboard has already got an opportunity to speak. So we will allow the witness to respond. Witness, I've given you the go-ahead to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try and answer them in the order that they came through. I have quite a number of them. The first one was clarification if at all 33 MCAs did vote. And our response to that question, Your Honor, is yes, it's an affirmative.
Power his microphone and put it closer to his mouth, please.
The first question was if at all we can be able to clarify that at all the 33 MCAs were able to vote within the system. And of course our response to that based on the finding is yes, 33 MCAs did vote. We've provided evidence for that as per the logs provided within the system. The other question was, and this question has been repeated severally, whether if you have the link and you have the password and you have the username, you can be able to vote. And we have confirmed, yes, you can be able to vote for one another. However, the link was being sent to an individual user MCA. Therefore, once you receive your link, you are able to vote if you only have your username and your password. The other question was, if the system is okay based on the question 5. If we go to question 5, we were asked the question as was directed to us as ICT authority to respond was, is there any evidence of multiple or compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system or process? And I will want us to underline the word evidence. Our field is based on evidence. I have to be able to provide evidence. And the evidence that I collected is based on the logs that the system has no evidence of multiple voting. It has no evidence of compromise or any other impropriety of the voting system. And that's what we responded to, based on evidence. The other question was, from the failed logins. I think there was a senator who asked about failed logins. From the logins, you can actually tell that the system is secure because if you do not have your username and password, it does not let you get through. You need to have your appropriate username and password for you to be able to log in. And from the extracted logs that we have, we had actually even been able to see a number of attempted multiple logins yesterday, which never went through. The other question was, it was on shared credentials. And as I've said, from a practitioner's perspective, we are all taught that your username and password is a personal information that you should not be able to, share. And as senators, we are aware of the Data Protection Act, which specifically guides that username and password, or perhaps an ID, is personal identifiable information, and therefore data that is personal. And therefore, if at all it was a practice within the county to share username and passwords, I think that is a wrong practice. However, from the evidence, and I'll still insist, from the evidence that we collected, we were not able to ascertain that level of practice. There is a question on training, source code, and I'll respond to this by saying that within the time limit provided, we were here at 2, we were meant to provide a report at 6, and I have said we zeroed our response towards answering the 5 questions that were posed to the ICT Authority CEO, which meant that we look into the system, the exposed interface of the system, the voters module, the hosting architecture of the system, to be able to gather enough evidence to respond to those questions. The issue of geofencing, that is an architectural issue that perhaps require additional time for you to be able to ascertain whether the code has included aspects of geofencing. There's also a repeated issue about the 9 IP addresses, and as I have earlier responded to, is that these IP addresses are ideally a gateway for the county assemblies local LAN, that is local area network, or Wi-Fi, if that is what the MCAs use as an internet gateway. There was an issue about Mr. Trump, the challenges associated with voting. As a good practice, ideally, as I had said, from a practical ITGC, which is Information Technology General Controls, users are meant to be trained, and we received an affirmative Excel sheet that indicated that this had been done at the county. The other question was, we report about the system IP address. I think we have clarified that in our report, that the system is hosted on off-premise. That means not within the premise of the county. The system is hosted out of country. That is a host pinnacle. We have provided the published URL in our report that is on page 4. We were also asked to confirm whether the system is secure. I want to confirm that we did an internal scan within the system, basically, which is some sort of vulnerability pen test within the system. And I can confirm within this sitting that the system as it is secure, and that was actually demonstrated by the logs that we printed, which indicated quite considerable number of failed attempt logins. The other question was, if you were to be the one setting up the system, what would you do? As a practitioner, there are guidelines and frameworks that we define that guide us on how best to set up the system. And we are guided by, of course, governance practices, the system value, the proposition, the return to the users, as well as good practice around security, resilience, and of course, data privacy. So I will make sure that all that aspects are inbuilt within the system, which is ideally what we were looking into when we reviewed the system. The other question was in regards to the MCA's phone devices, IP addresses. As I had said earlier, if the MCAs were using the system, with their devices and using the local gateway, which is the Wi-Fi, they will all resolve to one IP, which is the outward-facing IP, which is ideally what some of the senates have addressed. And when we looked at these IPs, they are actually local ISP service providers, including our Safaricom, Airtel, and the likes. There is the question that was asked around system, if you are able to allow members to vote. I think I have indicated that you can only vote if you have the URL, and the URL, once you vote, it deactivates. So you cannot cast your vote twice. There was the question on whether this exercise was a joint exercise. I think I would want to answer that this is our report. Myself and my colleague, my senior information security analyst, Joanne, we sat here yesterday from around 4 to late in the night preparing this report. And I think it is our responsibility to sign the report. Any other person had no obligation to sign it. They can sign it if they so wish. Otherwise, it was our report which we were presenting to the clerk's office. There is a question that has been asked whether IP 154.159.237.217 appears thrice. It is the same scenario. You can have, the architecture of mobile devices is when you are moving within the base stations, each base station has an IP address. So whether you are within the premises of a base station, you will definitely have one IP address if you are on a different ISP, if you are on the same ISP provider. The other question was on ideally whether we can ascertain that the system has been secured. As I have said, yes, we've done a scan using our in-house tools provided by the ICT authority, and we can verify that the system is secure, as it has been demonstrated by the logs that are part of our annexes to this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've... No,
Thank you.
There are some questions.
Now you've... yes, Senator Christo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, listen, I only have just one question, which had not been answered. To the witness, I asked you just one question. I said, let me restate it. I asked, you have 33 people who have voted, according to the report. And you say that each of the votes cast are attached to a particular IP address. Some are in clusters, meaning they're identical to others. But can you tell us with certainty the geographical location of each of those IP addresses? If 33 people voted, where exactly did they vote from geographically according to the IP address attached to their vote, Speaker?
I will also allow Senator Omtata, who has difficulty with his card. You may now proceed.
Yes,
Senator Azena, you had an opportunity. Senator Omtata, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We are having the expert, the authority, the expert of experts before us. The IC authority of the Republic should be the expert of experts. And listening to him, it's like he's walking away from this report. If he did not have adequate resources, like I'm looking at answer number 4, you answer using, you put the word no in capitals, yet you have qualified it that you did not have enough staff to give us a credible answer. Because as you know, if you looked at what the County Assembly presented, those logs, there was no audit trail in those logs. And I appreciate that you had a very short time, you have presented your issues here. So I'm trying to struggle with the evidentiary value of this report.
Give the senator half a minute.
So, of what value is this report? And number two, for lawfulness, we are told about .go.ke and .co.ke. As the regulator of the system, can a county government be allowed to run a system on an open server or a private host, or must this be on a government host? It came up during submissions.
Thank you, Senator Hazana. You're saying your question has not been addressed. Can you repeat it?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The question has not been answered because I asked how come there were 3 MCAs who voted using the same IP address, and he has said that it was if one person is using their phone and moving around the vicinity into different locations, that it will use the same IP address. But this is 3 different MCAs from the code of the MCA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, 5 minutes, conclude, witness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll continue responding to the questions because I hadn't addressed all of them. There was a question that asked to whom the letter was addressed to. The response to that is the letter was addressed to our PS, who's the PS State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, requesting the ICT Authority CEO to nominate officers. Then there was a follow-up question regarding whether the report required consensus. Our response is no, because it is based on evidence that we have collected within the environment that we were working on. There was a follow-up question whether the system is valid. Yeah, I think if the system is valid and up to date, and the answer is yes. The system based on the scope and our surroundings that we were working on, yes, the evidentiary collected within the system are valid. There's a question that has been posed by Senator Omtata asking about the response to question, I think you mentioned 3. Was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or another MCA? I have indicated here that the answer is no. You cannot vote for any other person, and I have qualified it. You can only vote if you have all the 3 parameters, which is the link, which was provided for by the county assembly, and then your unique username, which is the IPPD, and of course a password, which is obviously meant to be private and privileged information. To respond to the other question that has lastly been asked, it is what value is the report? I think based on the matters at hand, your Honorable Speaker, this report is meant to guide us. We are responding to the questions that were posed to the ICT Authority in responding to the allegations of whether the system is a secure voting platform or not. And based on the evidence that we have provided before this House, in my field, we base our conclusion on evidence. And that is what we have provided based on the logs, based in the presence of both parties, and we have provided this to this House. We have clarified issues to do with IP addresses. IP is a unique...
Witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just be very specific. Respond to the question by Crystal Asigi so that we end it there.
Yeah, so the question asked by Honorable Senator is, are we able to ascertain with certainty MAC addresses. I'll still echo my earlier sentiments that MAC addresses are unique to devices, and MAC addresses are mapped to IP addresses. You need to have an IP addresses for you to access an external facing application. And based on the configuration of the system, within the logs configuration, the logs have provided an IP address which corresponds to a unique MAC address. However, within the logs within that voting system, MAC addresses are not configured as audit details to be collected.
So you are not able to geographically place them?
You can, using your IP, and ideally this is where the confusion between an IP and a MAC address comes in. A MAC address does not give you an IP a location, but an IP address gives you an IP location. And that is why we have used the IP addresses to confirm that these IP addresses were within the geographical location of the county assembly, because these are base station IPs.
Order. Let the witness respond, Senator Hezena and Senator Crystal Asige. Just conclude, witness.
Your Honor, as I was saying, IP addresses gives you geolocation. However, MAC addresses don't give you geolocation. And based on the architecture of some of the systems we have, we only collect the outward facing IP address. This basically means that that system is exposed to users outside. So you don't expose your internal IPs, but you expose your outside IPs. And the IPs that we have identified here are ISPs that belong to local ISP providers, as we have indicated, Safaricom, Airtel, and any other ISP within that geolocation, Your Honor.
Okay. So assuming the senators vote the way Kericho did, and they're all seated inside the chamber here, so they will still have different IP addresses. If they're all seated here, voting the Kericho way, will they still have, they will have different IP addresses?
So depending on if your system that you are using is a web-based system, that has to be configure the system such that you say any requests that are coming